Hi everyone. I chose to do my author-illustrator study on Joanna Ho. Joanna Ho is a pretty new author. She was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, USA. Her parents immigrated from Taiwan and China. She has lived in Maryland, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Ghana, Taipei, Taiwan, and California. And I highlighted where those places are on these maps. So we've got California, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Maryland's over here. And then if you look at how far away Taipei, Taiwan, and her dad is from, or one of her parents is from China. So here's Taiwan's right here, and then China. She actually has 2 of her own kids, and she's a vice principal at a high school. So far, Joanna Ho only has 5 books. We actually have Eyes That Kiss in the Corners at our library. Her genre, so that's what kind of book they are, what format. So we have fiction, which means it is not real, and we have nonfiction, which is real. So she actually has a biography in the form of a picture book. So that tells us about a real person's life. Playing at the Border is an example of a biography picture book. And then her other forms of fiction are contemporary, which is kind of just realistic modern. So Eyes That Kiss in the Corners, The Silence That Binds Us, Eyes That Speak to the Stars, and One Day. Those are all modern or contemporary fiction. She's already won some awards. So Eyes That Kiss in the Corner won the Golden Kite Award. So this is just given to authors for excellent books. And then she's also won an Ezra Jack Keats Honor Award, which is given to new authors. Like I said, she is a new author. Why does she write books? So Joanna was going to have her first baby, and she wanted to find books with diverse characters. So diverse means people who are not white, so Black or Latinx or Asian or American, Indian, Native American. And I know those are all really big groups that have a lot of different cultures in them. But she couldn't find any books, really many books with diverse characters, so she decided to write them herself. She believes that all kids need to see themselves and others in books. So one of the first books we're going to look at, Eyes That Kiss in the Corners, we actually have in our library. This one is about a little girl who notices that her eyes are different from her friends. And hers are special because they kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea. They're just like her mama and grandma's, and their eyes tell stories of their past and culture, and they are beautiful. And so this is a little quote from the book. My lashes curve like swords of warriors, and through them I see kingdoms in the clouds. So that's a really good way to describe how she's strong. Her lashes curve like swords. Playing at the Border is the one that is a biography. So it's about a real person. So a cellist, Yo-Yo Ma, he plays the cello. This tells a little bit about his life growing up, and then in April 2019, when he played at the border between Texas and Mexico to unite the 2 countries or nations through songs. So he immigrated to the United States, and it even talks about how the parts and the materials used to make his cello came from different nations, all put together to make music. So here's a quote from Playing at the Border. Feet planted on the soil of one nation, facing the shores of another, Yo-Yo Ma closed his eyes as the music poured from his heart through his hands. And that's something that's a really cool way to write that. The music, he feels the music. It poured from his heart through his hands. Another book she wrote about eyes is Eyes That Speak to the Stars. So this book is about a little boy who is really sad when his friend draws his eyes like 2 little slits, like closed sleeping eyes. and a drawing because he doesn't think that's what he looks like. And so his dad, or his Baba, makes sure he knows he's special by reminding him that his eyes are powerful and can speak to the stars and see history and time. And so here's 2 quotes I chose from this story. "My eyes shine like sunlit rays that break through dark and doubt." Agong's eyes that speak to the stars gaze into the distance like they're looking at the world through lenses of time. One of her newer books for younger adults, so like 5th grade, 6th grade, high school, is called The Silence That Binds Us. So this story is about a little girl, or a young girl named May, and her brother decides to take his own life. But she must explore the concept of the pressure put on Asian American kids by their parents. And so for some Asian American families, their parents worked really, really hard to come to this country or to make a living in this country, and sometimes they can put a lot of pressure on their kids to be successful too. And so this book really explores that. One Day is actually not out yet. It's coming in winter 2023, but it's about a mom cuddling her baby boy, and she just loves his hair and his toes and his cheeks, and she's dreaming about who he's going to be when he grows up. So I chose to do my presentation on Joanna Ho because she is an author of color. She's Asian American, and she writes books that show characters who are Asian American or Asian, because there really aren't as many books that represent Asian characters. So it's super important for us to read them so that we can learn about other cultures, and Asian American kids can see some of their culture and stories. We also do have one of her books in our library. I'm hoping to get all of them. She wants students like you to be educated on racism toward Asian people and to use your voices to stand up for others and yourself. It's my job as your librarian to expose you to books by authors of color and about people of color to learn about other cultures. So I have a few little examples of her books. So this is Eyes That Kiss in the Corners, and I love her beautiful illustrations by Dung Ho. So he's got these really cute, bright, colorful characters. And I already read one quote, but I'm going to read a little bit more. "When Mom comes home from work, she scoops me in her arms, eyes sparkling like starlight, and tickles me until we laugh ourselves onto the floor." And that's just a really beautiful, descriptive way to describe how they laughed until they fell. Eyes That Speak to the Stars. I thought this picture right here was really interesting because you can see this is why he's really sad, is because his friend drew this picture of everyone, and he's right in the middle here, and his eyes are just 2 little closed slits. And the rest of the boy's eyes are big and round and colorful. And so he's feeling really sad because that's not how his eyes look. And I'm sure that his friend didn't mean to be mean, but he wasn't really sure how to draw them. But if you look, you can see that that's not how his eyes look. And his dad shows him all of these ways that his eyes are special and important, and they're like his grandpa's eyes. And his grandpa's eyes have seen this amazing history, and then his little brother's eyes too, and who his little brother is going to become. Here's a couple examples of playing at the border. So we have Yo-Yo Ma, how he grew up. So since he was 4, he had been playing the cello, and he even performed for Presidents Eisenhower and Kennedy. He became a United States Messenger of Peace. Then it shows how he used his music to play at the border. It says he's got his feet planted on the soil of one nation, which is like Texas, and then the other nation, Mexico. So he's standing there and he's playing his music to both countries. And then it explains how his cello was built in Italy. And there's other parts of his cello too. Trees grown in Brazil made the stick of his bow, hair from a horse's tail in Mongolia, ebony from West Africa, the wood. So it's just showing how all these different countries helped make the materials to make this cello, just like he's playing to these two different countries. And then my last example, The Silence That Binds Us. This is just a little excerpt from her book. So this is Joanna Ho actually reading herself.
She just thought of something, though I got the sense she'd been waiting for this moment all day. She said, "Danny, tell everyone the news." Auntie was set up. Wasn't today the day that... Danny's eyes widened, and I glimpsed a flash of something drowning behind them. He choked. "Not now, Ma. Now is the perfect time. We're like family here." Danny stared for a long second at his noodle bowl, then rearranged his face so quickly that no one else noticed. He said, "I got into Princeton." He smiled and showed the high dimple on his right cheek. It always looked as if someone had pinned it out of place. Congratulations burst around the table, and someone asked, "Did you hear from Stanford yet?" Danny shook his head. He kept smiling, but his dimple faded. He looked lost as he disappeared beneath best wishes and well-intentioned questions. I watched him closely and frowned. Something was wrong. I tried to catch his eye, but he wouldn't look at me. He knew I was trying to telegraph a million questions to his brain.
So those are just a few examples of Joanna Ho's work. I'm really excited that I got to share this author with you and that we can explore and read some more of her book. Thank you.